Thumpers, welcome back to another episode of Hyper Heroes here on Hyper Rabbit Power Go. We are very excited to be here for another week of talking about superhero movies. Hector looks different.
Hi,
Emily Rose
Hector
Jacobson is
Navarro.
here. Thank you so much for joining us. Special guest, because Hector is in New York doing some press coverage for Shazam.
Yep.
So he'll be,
Woo.
back, he'll be back next week. I lied. I feel a little bad. I lied last week because I said next week you'll be able to see all three of us together. That was a big old lie.
This came out of the blue, so yeah,
Yeah.
It was okay.
As many
It was
things
okay.
do.
It
But
was
thank
okay.
you for being here.
You're welcome. You know, I said I would never do the show unless James Gunn came back to do Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Was that a stipulation? Was that in your
That
contract?
was in my
that in the contract?
contract.
Great.
I said no.
Did I sign that?
No go.
Malika, did I sign that?
Oh,
I
you
don't
signed
remember.
that. You
Great.
agreed
Okay,
a long
cool,
time
cool,
ago.
cool.
And so
Yeah.
now I can be here legally.
That's right. That's right. But the Avengers trailer did come out yesterday. What were your thoughts on it?
Oh my gosh.
You loved it.
I loved it. The thing that blew my mind and kind of made me laugh, but also kind of threw me, was the matching outfits.
Right?
It's
the
a
first
little,
time.
it kind of is throwy because
Of course.
I associate matching outfits, of course, to more like X-Men,
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic Four. And so seeing like these classic characters we've seen for 10 plus years suddenly all in very similar
Yeah.
outfits.
It's like
which
seeing the Power Rangers walk across the screen.
I was
Right,
like,
right,
I was
right.
kind of like thrown for a second.
Can
I
I
was
say
like,
that?
oh.
Are we getting in trouble for that? Can I say that? No? Okay, cool.
We're okay. We're okay with that. that was a look of approval.
Cool.
That was a look
Great.
of I like that decision.
But I'm really excited to see what those suits are. We talked about it a little bit. I hope they are for Quantum Realm. I'm very, very
I'm
curious.
almost. My nerdy brain says it's
Yeah.
100% certain, but I
Yeah.
mean, we haven't seen the movie, so I
And
can't
yeah, and there's
say.
passage of time, so
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
all those
Yeah.
things could have been developed.
Right,
for
We got
this
to see some
adventure.
Captain Marvel there.
Yeah, very short, but we
Very
got some
short.
yeah.
I really I'm interested to see her interactions with everybody, not just Thor, and her talking with everybody, not just
Yeah.
her
Not just her
standing
standing
there.
Yeah, with Fury.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see. I love Black Widow having red hair, and so I'm really excited to see that it's back.
I think that choice, and again, they're obviously using that as an indicator of the progression of time.
Yeah.
But to watch that in a trailer and to see her go from the short blonde hair to longer blonde hair to blonde hair with like red roots to just full redhead. I'm like,
It's
how
weird
much
how,
time passes?
It's
in this
weird
damn
how
thing?
they're playing with us.
Yeah.
Like they're legit playing with us
Yeah.
because they want us to make those connections.
Watch. It's just visual effects.
Dude, Marvel is
That'd be the
known
worst.
for throwing shots
Yeah.
in there
Oh,
that
totally.
are not in the movie.
Yeah.
Like
Or
I
changing
cannot
stuff.
trust. Yeah, I cannot trust anything they put
Yeah.
out at this point.
And then I know the one big kind of conspiracy, or like the one big like, is that Kate that Hawkeye
Kate
is
Bishop?
Kate Bishop. Is that Kate Bishop that Hawkeye is training?
No.
Nobody
I don't
knows.
think it is.
Nobody
I
knows.
don't
it is.
know.
A lot of people online have been saying like, no, it's
I think
his
it's
daughter.
a flashback of his daughter because also
Yeah.
too his hair is not completely different.
Yeah.
If I were to guess with my my classic movie predictions like I did for Mary Poppins, I would guess that is the moment that they disappear.
Yep.
That she dusts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, no,
Yeah, I
I
think-
gotta get a
After he
mohawk.
high-fives
Exactly.
her, and he's like, I have the most dangerous
Exactly.
high fives in the world.
I think there's gonna be a scene where you see like Natasha and him reconnect, like that stuff that we saw in Tokyo.
yeah.
And he's gonna explain to her what happened.
Yeah.
He's probably been gone for years. They don't know what's happened to him, and then she explains it, and they're like, "Oh,
Right.
yeah, you saw your family get decimated."
I'm
Yeah,
also
yeah.
really excited to see Rocket interact with more people because we've only
Same.
seen Rocket interact really with Thor
Yeah.
and
Guardians.
Bucky.
Yeah, Bucky a little
And,
bit.
yeah, and the Guardians obviously, and
Sure.
and really connect with Groot.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be really interesting to see if he breaks down some barriers
Mm-hmm.
at this point because they hit that hard in the last one.
Yeah.
They're like, I know you. Oh wait, no, that was Guardians.
This Guardians too. It's like
Yeah,
very
that
much
was
like
Guardians too.
father son.
Yeah, it was
allegories.
it was very father son, and
Mm-hmm.
we realized that yes, like Rocket is putting up this front. So
Yeah.
is he gonna soften up? Is
Right.
he gonna continue being a little jerk?
We
Yeah,
see
yeah.
him a lot with Rhodey in these trailers,
do.
so I'm excited to see if
Oh.
they really connect.
Yeah.
Dude,
He's gonna need
Rhodey's
somebody.
gonna call him out. Rhodey's gonna he's gonna call him out on his bullshit.
I want your armor.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Get out of
I
here.
want your legs.
Yeah.
Like, please
oh,
no.
no. They were already taken once. But
Oh.
speaking of
Oh,
Guardians of the
man.
Galaxy, holy
did that on purpose.
Shnikes, this was very, very. I don't think anyone was anticipating this to happen at all, let alone this week when they dropped this crazy Endgame trailer. James Gunn is officially coming back to write and direct Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Yep.
Holy smokes.
Schnickies, as
This
I like
is
to
I was sort of skeptical about it. I had always hoped that they would do this. I had always hoped that Disney would come to their senses and he would go off and make the Suicide Squad movie, and then at some point throughout the process of him making that, they would say, we made, obviously not admitting this publicly, but saying to him, we made a mistake. Let's discuss it. Let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. We want to have you come back
make
and
amends. Most importantly, like let's
have you
not
come in and make
lose.
Guardians
Let's
3.
not lose our Drax. Let's not, have people be upset.
The cast was very outspoken
Yeah.
about the firing of James Gunn.
You know who else is outspoken? Hector
Who?
Navarro.
Hector Navarro, very
Jeez.
outspoken. So,
Dude, the soothsayer. I cannot. When I heard this, my mind just exploded. I was like, whoa.
How long ago did he predict it?
I mean, he's been talking about it
He's been-
for months.
Yeah, he's been talking about it for a while, but he
Yeah.
straight up said this was going to happen,
Yeah.
or what he would like to happen, really. And I don't
It
know.
came a little earlier than he was anticipating. He thought it
Yeah.
was
Any
gonna,
of us were
Yeah,
anticipating.
he thought it was gonna come after the release of Endgame.
Yeah.
I bet though, like with all the kind of new talks, because you talked about it last week, because I watched the episodes.
Thank you.
You talked about the new Suicide Squad and the changes that were happening there. Idris
Right.
Elba. I bet you $10 Disney's sitting there being like, Idris, they got Idris. What are we gonna do? Oh, we gotta get him back. He's making good choices. We need him back to make
Yeah.
some more good choices for us,
Yeah.
because I firmly believe this, and I'm happy to talk about it and whatnot. I felt like after Guardians came out, all the Marvel movies had kind of been similar in structure, similar in tone. After Guardians came out, it felt like, we can be funny and have serious moments.
right.
And that's when you start to see this new kind of like, there's comedy, but there's also action, there's heart, and this perfect blend of it. And I think that's because James Gunn knew what he was doing. So I
Yeah.
feel like, too, it's like, why are you going to take away that? Bring him back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I feel
yeah.
like he's telling stories from the heart too. Like he really gets the characters. He's very invested in
Right.
those characters
Right.
and their stories. And at the core, that's kind of what the Guardians of the Galaxy is about. It's about family and relationships within a family. Guardians 2 is very much about fathers and sons.
Guardians 2 is very much about people doing bad things,
Yeah.
making amends
Yes.
about them,
Yeah.
and being different people.
Exactly.
That was Yondu's story.
Exactly.
And that is James Gunn's story now. Like
Yeah, and-
he's trying to prove that he's not the guy that he used to be.
Exactly. And I think I don't really think we need to go into exactly like what happened, because we all know what happened. We all know the tweets that James Gunn had written years ago. And I think this is something that quite a few people that we talked to about this have said, Cameron included, has always said, it's like the internet refuses to allow people to grow and to change sometimes.
Right.
And that can be really bad.
It's detrimental.
It's detrimental,
absolutely detrimental.
and it's not like James Gunn, kept his tweets hidden. He's discussed this openly. He's apologized.
Yeah,
for
it's
it.
not like he's saying, you guys need to chill out.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
not doing.
You're over exaggerating.
Yeah, he's not doing
He's
that.
not downplaying what
No,
he said.
exactly.
He apologized. He accepted it. He
accepted that
apologized
he's trying
for
to
it,
be edgy,
and he's trying to move on.
yeah, exactly.
But people, for some reason, won't let it down.
Well, I mean, and I think that there definitely were agendas to unearthing those things and trying to get this guy fired because
Yeah,
of his
yeah.
political opinions and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Which is just, I don't know. For me, that's so frustrating
Of
too,
course,
because like there's other people who should definitely not be working in this town anymore for a number of reasons, yet they still get second opportunities at other studios.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just frustrating, when it's like someone who's, you know what? I said those things, and I apologize because I was a different person back then, and I've grown over these years.
Yeah.
And that happens to that person. But
Yeah.
like for these other people,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
frustrating. So, and I guess what had happened was Alan Horn, who's the chairman of the Walt Disney Company, has had multiple meetings with James Gunn. They've talked about it, and they've talked about it on multiple occasions. That's kind of why Disney stayed quiet about it. They didn't really want to address it. Kevin Feige has stayed pretty quiet about it. He's sort of skirted around the answer as much as he can. They did talk about how they're going to use James Gunn's script that he had written. And it seemed like nobody really wanted to address it and touch it. There were rumors that Taika Waititi was possibly going to replace him and direct it, Adam McKay. Apparently, Disney actually didn't see any other directors. And again, that could be a complete lie. But as far as we know, and as far as the article said, they did not meet with any other directors. The intention was to always hopefully bring back James Gunn. I think for Disney, it was more of like, well, we reacted. We made a decision. We need to sit on it. We need to let it play out. We need to figure out how we're going to sort of rebuild this relationship, and narratively to the public, how we're going to rebuild this thing. So apparently they had meetings for months. And Alan Horn,
believe it, yeah.
Alan Horn was I don't want to say impressed, but he liked the way that James Gunn sort of handled the whole situation publicly. He didn't throw anybody under the bus. He sort of accepted it.
Right.
And for them, I guess as a company, they looked at that and they said, okay, cool, you handled this well, so we can justify having a conversation to potentially bring you back.
Like a person who learns from their
Like a
mistakes
sane
Yeah.
human being.
and
is
grows
genuine
and
apologizing.
is genuine and
Yeah.
is really
Who would've thought?
apologetic.
Who would have thought?
Hey, maybe don't listen to assholes.
Yeah,
right off the bat.
maybe.
The more you know.
I know. So, and I know a lot of people
Yeah.
were asking, like, okay, cool, that's great that he's going to do this movie. How does that affect the Suicide Squad? So, part of the thing that sort of made the whole thing complicated was when he signed on to write and direct Suicide Squad, that automatically pushes Guardians somewhere beyond the original intended date, which I think it was originally supposed to come out next year. But because the Suicide Squad comes out in August of 2021, we're not going to see a Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 until, I think at the very earliest, I think the very, very earliest it's possible is in the fall of 2022, a year after Suicide Squad comes out, or in early 2023.
Yeah.
Because, I think if he's going to be as devoted to it as he was with Guardians 1 and 2, this is a director who's in there in the edit bay every single day, visual effects, post-production.
He's
not
in
gonna,
every facet of this movie.
he's not going to want to put that on the side and then go direct in the day and then go working on it. I don't think so. So it's a good thing that they were able to work that out, so he'll be able to do both movies.
Yeah.
He's the first director in the MCU who will complete a trilogy, which that's pretty rad.
No way.
And honestly, if these movies were coming out back to back, I would buy a ticket for a double feature.
Oh yeah,
because it would be so
all day
sick.
long, all day long in
It'd
the
be so
theater.
sick.
Yeah,
It'd be
I'd be
amazing.
so happy. You know what? I hope he Peter Jacksons it and makes 2 movies at the same time.
That'd be
Oh my
amazing.
back to back,
God.
like Peter Jackson made his trilogy all
Yeah.
back to back to back, and sometimes interweaving like the things that they had to shoot. So
Oh man,
I wouldn't like.
if they were
I
two
would
movies
not
in the
be.
same universe, that'd be incredible.
Well, maybe not that.
Yeah.
But like the fact that you like, if you really, really wanted to, and I'm not trying to put pressure on anybody,
yeah.
like to do anything, but in my world, he would be like, you know what, dudes, let's do this. Let's do these movies back to back.
Yeah.
This movie needs to come out when it needs to come out because I have a very specific plan that I want to fit into the current MCU and
Yeah.
where the MCU is going.
Yeah.
Because think about it, like, I hope this pause isn't to the detriment of what's happening, because there might be things happening in these next couple movies that might have really affected the Guardians. We don't
Yeah.
know. We won't know until we see the movie. So
Yeah.
That's a good point. And
What's gonna
whatever,
happen?
what's going to be the next phase,
Phase, yeah,
building up to the
exactly.
next big event, are the
Exactly.
Guardians going to be a part of that event?
yeah,
now?
are they even
Yeah.
there? Like, are we gonna shoehorn them into something that they shouldn't be shoehorned into?
Yeah,
I don't know.
And Kevin Feige has sort of talked about how there really won't be a Phase 4. It will be sort of the next generation of whatever the Marvel Cinematic Universe evolves into.
Okay,
but
so
it's not really going to be like. People are saying it's Phase 4 because there's some movies and things already announced
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be a Phase 4 in the sense of like, okay, cool, now we're building to the next thing.
the
Because
next arc.
Feige has said
Yeah.
we're kind of need to go in a different direction than building bigger. You can't really go bigger than Thanos now. You need to do something that's more personal,
Yeah.
more small
Yeah.
scale, and then eventually at some point rebuild back up to that.
I'm telling you, dude, Doom needs to come back and
Oh, don't worry, we're going to
tear
talk
everything
about
up.
Doom.
I know we will talk about Doom.
Yeah.
But should we hear about what James
Yeah.
Gunn said or what Hector said?
Let's hear what James Gunn said first. So
Okay.
James
Both
Gunn
credible
said,
sources.
James Gunn said, I am tremendously grateful to every person out there who has supported me over the past few months. I'm always learning and will continue to work at being the best human being I can be. I deeply appreciate Disney's decision. I am very excited to continue making films that investigate the ties of love that bind us all. I have been and continue to be incredibly humbled by your love and support. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. Love to you all, James Gunn. This is great.
That's heartfelt.
that-
I feel his emotions
Totally.
throughout that. Like,
I mean, again,
I love it.
I think he has convinced the audience through press junkets and any sort of interview he does about Guardians of the Galaxy that he loves those characters deeply.
They're his babies.
Yeah, they're his babies.
Zach is opening my dinner, by the way, in case
Ooh, yum yums.
he bought dinner for all of us. just
Oh
so
my
you
gosh,
guys
that's
know.
so nice
That's
of
so
you,
nice.
Zach.
Thanks. We can put the
Zach,
Bokino
you're
Moss
the
in
best.
fridge.
Thank you. You only have one job, and you're buying food for the entire crew.
Thanks, buddy.
It's so so helpful.
Off.
Why isn't the red light on?
Yeah.
Oh no.
He's nice.
So even though Hector's not here, he's in New York. He did record a little video because everyone was asking him what his opinion was about this whole thing. So he recorded a video. We're going to play for you now. It's a little long because you know how Hector is. But we'll play for you now. And then we'll wrap it up. We'll talk about the next topic. So here you go.
I almost spit my water out.
What's up, y'all? Excuse my hair. I just got to my hotel. I just got off of a plane. I'm in New York City, and I wanted to make this quick video to send to you guys. What's up, Adam? What's up, Augie? To you guys can share. So James Gunn is going to be doing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and I'm super, super happy for two reasons. Number one, I love those first two movies. I love the direction, the vision from the writer and from the director. I love what Nicole Perlman did for the first Guardians of the Galaxy and what James contributed or changed or whatever it was that he did to get us that final product. I also love the final product of just James Gunn to writing and directing Volume 2. I love those characters. I think that they have so much heart. They've become the heart of my favorite movie franchise of all time, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's awesome. So I'm excited to see him complete his story and whatever he wants to do with those characters. And he, set up stuff at the end of Part 2, Volume 2, that we're going to hopefully see in Volume 3. So I'm super excited about all of that stuff, man. And I'm also excited because it feels like a step in the right direction, especially with what just transpired in New Zealand and how that tragedy has a relation to how people have been radicalized on the internet. And I think that it's separate, but there's a similar. They're separate issues, but there's a similar tendency to like look at what's happening where people are creating online spaces to go after politicized people, and it's in bad faith, and it can be dangerous. And in this case, there was a group of people that wanted to get him fired, I believe, for reasons that were not actually good, which is like, I'm very offended, and I don't like the jokes that he made, and I think that he shouldn't be working with a company that does family projects. And I didn't believe that those people were truly offended. I believe that it was because he was he was outspoken against a conservative base in the United States, in the current presidential administration. That's what I believe. And I think that it was a very dangerous precedent to have a big company listen to a small group of people that were talking about this and listen to them as if they were coming from a good place. And all of that stuff was really, really scary to me. It was really scary. And I thought that this was maybe going to happen again after James Gunn went and worked for another company and this sort of controversy sort of smoothed over. I'm very, very happy that this announcement or news or whatever came earlier. I think that that's great. And I was thinking, I was like, why is it so early? Why not wait until after? But at some point that news would have gotten out. It would have gotten out, because that's just how I imagine these deals have to work, where they need to book this creative person for, a while from now, and then after that for a few years to finish out this thing. So the news would have gotten out. So I'm really happy, man. I'm really happy for those reasons. I think that it's that it'll make that movie will make a lot of people happy, and that's really good. And hopefully all those people that maybe lost or had to postpone their working on Part 3 will be able to come back and do it. Not just actors and stuff, but concept artists all the way to set builders and stuff. Hopefully they can come back and it all works out with that huge company schedule, and everybody will be able to see a movie soon. And I'm very, very excited. But now I got to go do more superhero stuff in New York, because my life is superheroes and it's great. I'll see you guys later. Bye.
So there you go. You have Hector's thoughts on what he thinks about this whole thing of bringing back James Gunn for Guardians 3. I'm super excited about it. I'm very happy that this has happened. The one thing that has not happened yet that I'm surprised is we haven't really gotten statements from too many of the actors involved with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Palm Clementif and Karen Gillan are the only two that I've found that have said anything about it so far.
I don't feel like it's necessary.
Yeah.
I feel like it very much speaks for itself. And this is a very... I feel like the time for them to rally behind James Gunn was when he got fired.
Yeah.
He's back.
They did their duty.
Let's give it to James. Let's let him speak on it. And it would be great if other people commented, but honestly, I feel like I don't need it, because this is very personally his thing. We're probably going to hear something.
Sure.
But, at
Oh
some
yeah,
point. I don't really need it.
Who knows if it's like a PR thing, if they're writing the right
Right,
wording
right.
to support him. Who knows? Because I remember when it was first announced, like, oh, they're gonna let him go. They had
Yeah.
a whole cast letter that they wrote together.
Yeah,
So who knows if they're gonna do that again?
Exactly. So I like I said, I don't think it's absolutely necessary. It would be very nice.
Yeah.
But let James Gunn own it, dude.
That's right.
This is his big win.
That's
let's
right, that's right.
keep it going.
And you should be excited. You're getting 2 superhero movies from the same director in 2 different universes, probably a year apart. I am very excited to see Guardians 3 and the Suicide Squad.
That's
going to be
very
awesome.
interested to see what Suicide Squad is going to be.
Same. I'm so like it's
Jeez.
so
Do you
fascinating.
think he's going to go like completely opposite? Is he going to bring some of that Guardians charm to these characters?
100%.
Is he going to make us hate these new characters but also like love their stories as to what they're doing?
He's so good. He has such a. I think he's the most perfect person for that project because it's like, who's a director who can take a ragtag group of like people that are not super
absolutely.
likable
Yeah.
and put
Yeah.
them together, and then man, they're amazing.
This
Yeah.
is his wheelhouse. Like if
Totally.
there's any
It's his
character,
type.
yeah, this is what he does. Like he brings the ragtag group together and makes us love them. But at the same time, Suicide Squad isn't necessarily to make us love those characters.
Sure.
You know, like these are evil people, and I don't know, is he going to like just really nail in the fact that these people are not likable and you should not like these people, but
Right.
they're working for the greater good.
Yeah.
Whereas like these are people who, hey, look, they look like assholes, but they're really nice once they like play
Yeah.
together.
and
you know,
one's a
it's-
tree.
Yeah, one's a tree, and then one's a raccoon who doesn't know he's a
Yeah,
raccoon,
yeah.
and so it's going to be really interesting, especially with these movies, him jumping from one production to the next right after it. You know,
Yeah.
it's going to be really
He's
strange
writing
to
and
see.
directing both.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see his headspace and where he's going to go.
Yeah, I think you can kind of equate it to something like Heath Ledger's Joker, right?
Yeah.
You love that character.
Yeah.
You love that actor
Yeah.
playing that role. You recognize he's a very bad person.
Exactly.
Who thinks he's
Scary.
justified in his actions.
You love to hate him.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And I think James Gunn can bring that to a lot of those squad members.
I
And
think
like
so.
even a character like Floyd Lawton, he's not necessarily just a bad guy. Like there's a
right.
lot of depth and layers to that character that I think the first Suicide Squad didn't get a chance to explore, that I think he can explore. The
Right,
backstory
right.
of Floyd Lawton.
Exactly.
How he kind of came to be without having to
Right.
show it to us.
Right.
But for us to really understand the emotional impact that had on his life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
further exploring, Harley Quinn
Right.
as a character too.
Exactly.
You know,
You have issues with Harley Quinn.
No, I just
Oh.
think she's such a fascinating character,
Yeah.
having been originally created for the animated series.
Oh, yeah,
we
absolutely.
haven't really had this
Yeah,
kind of. We've had
no.
a few, and we've had comics, but like and we've had
Movie-wise,
I think we've
yeah.
had the animated. What was it?
We had the
Harley
video
Quinn,
games, yeah.
Harley
Yeah, we
Quinn
have
and the
video games.
Batman.
She's been,
the most recent
she's
one.
been in comic books.
I
like
wanna
she's
see-
an endearing character.
I really want to see, an actor like really too, like especially. I think we're gonna get that even more in Birds of Prey.
Oh, yeah,
and the
fantabulous
That's what I was
emancipation of one Harley Quinn.
yes.
Harley
Harley Quinn is in it.
Harley Quinn.
And yeah, I'm so excited to see all the different kind of facets and of this character in
Yeah.
all these different films.
That I love that point, but also the tone. Is the tone gonna change from? Is he going to go Ezra Miller route, or is he going to go new direction of the DCEU? Because our next topic,
Yeah.
what is that, Adam?
Oh dang!
Woof. To answer your question firstly, though, I think that there's an opportunity because there are tonal things about the first Suicide Squad that work, other things that don't work.
Yeah.
I think he'll embrace sort of both. I think you're mostly going to get something that is more in the lighter-hearted tone, but I think when the drama and the seriousness and the impactfulness of what they're doing hits, I think it'll hit hard.
Right.
So-
I agree with that, and I feel like if there's any movie that has a perfect excuse to go dark, would be a Suicide Squad
Yeah.
movie.
It lends itself just
It's- yeah.
by nature.
It lends itself because these people are, on the other side of the
Yeah.
law, and
Yep,
all
yep.
this stuff. But what's our buddy
Man,
doing?
this next topic is very, very interesting. This literally happened. This news broke probably an hour before we started recording.
Yeah.
So Ezra Miller is writing The Flash. I'm going to let that sit there for a minute. That's
What?
interesting. So Ezra Miller apparently has enlisted the help of Grant Morrison, famous comic book writer, to help him crack the Flash script that is in development hell. Development hell. This movie was supposed to come out in April of last year. supposed to come out in April of last year.
Yeah.
Has not moved at all. They
Yeah.
brought in a new set of directors, John Francis Daly and Jonathan Goldstein, who co-wrote Spider-Man Homecoming, to crack the script, and apparently they are now having some sort of creative issues with Ezra Miller because they are trying to go in a more light-hearted tone that sort of embraces what they've done now with Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Shazam.
Whoop.
And which it has been stated that maybe that wasn't the best direction to go in by what's his name?
You're talking about the original sort of like dark.
Yeah.
version.
Remember they said that maybe that wasn't the right direction to go in. Who said that? The CEO of Warner Brothers.
Kevin Tsujihara?
Yeah, Tsujihara said that. Hey, we're gonna embrace these different directions that movies are gonna go in.
Yeah.
So what does he want to do, Adam?
Well, not only that, I mean, Aquaman has made over $1 billion at the box office, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that it's the best written movie. Clear, it's not.
No.
It's just not the best written movie.
No.
But the thing that I love about it is that it's just so entertaining and
Yes.
lighthearted and fun. Jason Momoa just sort of gets to be Jason Momoa as
Yeah.
Aquaman. And to me, I think that's a positive thing for the
Yeah,
movie.
absolutely.
Instead of trying to force these movies to be something that they're kind of not. Now, the comics have gone all over the place. They've been dark, they've been light, they've been this, they've been that. But I think generally people have a sort of a general understanding of who these characters are, the
Yes.
tone of these characters. Everyone wants everything in DC to be like Batman, when everything is sort of the opposite of that.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's the Ding Dong Super Friends. Like, that was a series, you guys.
That's the official name too. The Ding
Dong
Dong
Super
Ding Dong
Friends.
Super
I
Friends.
mean,
Everybody knows that.
yeah, like these characters have seen every tone
Yeah.
imaginable. I mean, I think my favorite iteration of all time is the animated series that came out in the 90s. I thought those were really good.
Oh yeah,
Justice
the
League,
Justice
yeah.
League.
The Justice League,
Unlimited,
Batman the
yeah.
animated series,
Oh, yeah.
Superman the animated series.
Batman
Do a
the
great
Golden
job.
Age.
Golden Age. Man,
Yeah.
DC killed it in the
Yep.
90s. Did a great job balancing heart, drama, hilarity, and art for kids. That was just for like kids.
I would not say that's for kids because that is probably the best example of a coordinated, collaborative universe of comic book superheroes ever. I still think that's the example that everybody should be following as far as that goes.
Yeah.
But sorry, continue.
But yeah, like I'm so curious to see, because also we've had a pretty successful Flash show,
Yeah.
and like
Right.
It's tapered off a little bit, but it started out so strong.
Yeah.
yeah, like are we going to pull from like ideas from that? Are we getting from the success of that, or
They've been
What do we
very
wanna
clear that their
do?
TV stuff is nothing near
Yeah.
their universe.
Totally.
And I think like
stuff.
they've already established that this Flash exists. I don't think you need to do an origin story.
I think
I
we can.
don't.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just getting excited.
This is my life.
I'm also Hector.
No, all I was gonna say was I think they understand that they don't necessarily need to do the Nora West story of how she was killed,
Right,
reverse
right.
Flash, all that sort of stuff. I think you can explore other stuff and then deal with that later on. Once you let the Flash have a Flash movie where it's about him.
Yes.
I think you could do like Spider-Man Homecoming setup. Already have a character.
Yep.
Same with Black
Absolutely.
Panther. The origin story that is character. We already know the character. We already know their powers.
Right.
Here's them being tested on a new
Right.
level that we haven't seen before. Bring in the trickster.
Yeah.
Bring
Oh
in
my
Mark
God.
Hamill voicing or just playing the trickster. He's so great.
See, I wouldn't
Bring in that crazy
I wouldn't
villain.
be against that at all.
God.
Maybe if they had like a super evil team that he was on, like that would be great. But I feel like Flash lends itself to the Flashpoint storyline, right?
Yes.
That Flashpoint storyline should be the Thanos event of that universe. Like that is what it should be because it changes everything. But at
Grant Morrison in to help you write it, though. Woo!
Real kooky.
it's gonna get strange, yeah. But at the same time, you don't have to follow it exactly.
But this is Ezra Miller we're talking
This is-
about. That's
yeah.
like that's two peas in a pod.
But what I'm saying is that like I feel like I feel like the Flash kind of going rogue. I feel like it's going rogue at this point with Ezra Miller kind of taking it in this direction and just saying, "No, I like the original direction it's going in. We're going to stick to it." It feels very short-sighted and not very well thought out.
Good. Thoughts?
Don't speak all at once, please. Please.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
What?
What were you going to say?
It's just the Flash is this. It's really hard because it's like the Flash has always been traditionally this kind of wisecracking goof kind of
Yes.
Sometimes.
The
lighthearted.
Wally West.
The
yes.
Wally West, yeah.
Barry Allen,
Justice
Barry
League-
Allen was pretty much straight.
Justice
man in
League
the 60s.
Unlimited, Justice League.
50s.
But that's the one I want to see though.
Yeah.
That's the one I fell
The
in love
Michael
with.
Rosenbaum,
Yes,
Wally West.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's the one I want to see. But at the same time, the versions before him weren't always that wisecracky. They were pretty straight edge, like straight. As straight
Literally.
as, straight as,
Literally
as
straight
straight
edge.
as he can run.
Yeah.
But what also the other thing as well is that the Speed Force is all encompassing of like, so there's different I guess different forces in the universe, and like the Green Lanterns, they cover emotions and things like that, and it's a very powerful force altogether. But the Speed Force is even intertwined with that. Like the Speed Force can interact with everything that the Green Lanterns are doing. It can interact anywhere at any point of the universe at all times because it's interwoven into everything, which is why he can have such big implications on everything he does. He can time travel. He can mess with stuff, hence Flashpoint.
Mm-hmm.
He can do that in other ways and other things that have been explored in other stories. I feel like Flash going rogue is not the right direction to go in because there's bigger implications that can make your universe so dope.
Yeah.
And it can make so many people so involved into this, but this seems, like I said, short-sighted.
Yeah,
not
and
planned out.
it's tough because like we literally do not know what his story is going to be. We also don't know the story that John Francis Daley and Jonathan Goldstein are making. It could be the same story in two very different tones. How does that work? Or is it two very different stories? Because first it was a Flash movie, then it was a Flash Rebirth movie. Then we speculated they're going to use Rebirth to reboot Batman and bring in a new actor.
Right.
They've completely scrapped that. Now it's supposed to be kind of it's potentially going to be another origin story. So we don't know. The one thing that I will give Ezra Miller credit for, if you are an actor who is so passionate about a character that you're willing to jump in behind the scenes to help figure out what the story is and to get it done, to get it on track, that's commendable to a point.
Yes.
Because I don't know how skilled Ezra Miller is as a writer. I've never seen any of his work on film and writing, so it's hard to say. Granted, you do have Grant Morrison, but comics, we've talked about so much, comics and movie scripts and those types of stories, they're different. Like, you're not doing a page-to-page translation and adaptation.
Yeah.
Like, you are taking, especially the character like the Flash, who is so old at this point.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
My God. You're taking so many elements from like 50 years of history and figuring out how to tell the best story. And I don't know. My hope is that these two will be able to crack something that they agree on, the studio agrees on, the directors agree on, and say, okay, cool. Yeah, we have the basis, we have the groundwork. Here's how we move forward.
If I may bring video games into the superhero conversation.
And please add several coughs into it as well.
Yes, right into the mic.
Right into the microphone, please.
Because I'm a horrible person. I think, you're right. It is commendable. However, I do agree. Sometimes it's. I'd be curious to see what Ezra Miller's writing background is, because you have a game, like another game, kind of in a similar situation, Venn diagram, Kingdom Hearts. Right. It was written and directed by a man, Tetsuya Nomura, who was the character art designer for Final Fantasy.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then he wrote and directed a game.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the plot gets a little. The plot of Kingdom Hearts spans across so many different games. Is very hard for those who are not playing the games to wrap their heads around. And so it's one of those things where you commend this person for having this creative idea, blending these things together. But also it's like you also, while you can have creative ideas, you also need the writing chops to deliver these stories to their fullest potential.
Yeah. And who's to say? Like, we don't know what his experience, how talented he is. He might be a virtuoso filmmaker. Who knows? What if he is?
All we know is he loves
crazy.
the Flash.
Yeah. What if he is so driven and his idea is so? What if he's like Hector, but we don't know?
Right.
You know, and
Exactly.
his idea is just so ingrained in his head, and he's like, I have to do this.
Yeah.
He's like, I know this isn't the direction that this movie that everybody else has decided it wants to go in, but this is what I want to do. And who knows? Like, maybe he could give us something amazing.
Yeah.
But these initial reports sound like somebody who's more frustrated rather than like coming from a place of like, I need to tell this story. You know?
Yeah, and I think, the DC films have taken a turn. They're going in a different direction. I think you either need to kind of get on the boat and just do it and play ball.
Yeah.
Or if you're not happy, then I think it's time to move on.
Yeah.
And they're saying
calling him out.
Yeah, he's never gonna watch this anyway. But he basically has. So right now he's got a talent hold on him until May. So basically, if that expires, he's basically on a retainer. And
Okay.
if nothing sort of comes to fruition by May, they could part ways and they could end up recasting the role. Or
Okay.
let's say next week they turn in a draft of the script and they don't come to an accord on whatever they're going to make. He could choose that. He's like, okay, great. I don't want to make this movie
tried.
anymore. I tried. I did my best. I would rather step away. 'Cause similarly to what Ben Affleck did. Ben
Yeah.
Affleck says he couldn't crack the story. He couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
So he decided, you know what? Let's have another filmmaker come in. Let's stop delaying this project. Let's let Matt Reeves take
Do you
over.
think he's doing this just so he can get out?
I don't
Ben
know.
Affleck
I would hate.
Oh man.
Oh, that makes me sad.
Oh man.
I don't want to go
What
down.
if he's like, guys, I tried everything I could. I want to tell this story, but I can't crack it.
I don't know.
Sorry, I'm out.
I would hate to think that every single actor who's now playing a superhero at DC, him,
Watch me
Henry
watch
Cavill,
everybody.
Ezra Miller, Ben Affleck, I would hate to find out that it's like they just didn't want to do it. They wanted out.
Yeah.
That's so sad
yeah.
because those characters, you
Yeah.
think that it would be an actor's dream to play like these
Totally.
iconic characters with so much
He's
rich
so
history.
into it
He
too.
loves The Flash. Holy
he loves
God.
it. Have you been to the Hall H panels where Ezra Miller is at?
I didn't
When he
get to
cosplays every year?
No.
Oh,
I only went to
God.
Comic-Con for the first time last
Yeah.
year.
That was your first year?
That was my
Yeah.
first year.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank
I'm glad I
you.
was there to, be there
To
for
not
part of
know
it.
that it was your first
yeah.
Comic-Con.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't. Yeah, and a lot of people are saying like, look, at the end of the day, it might just end up being Jason Momoa and Gal Gadot, who are the only two remaining survivors of the Justice League who move forward in this universe. And
I'd be okay.
it sucks because like I like Jason Momoa and Gal Gadot,
Yeah.
but I also like Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, Ray Fisher, and Ezra Miller.
Gosh.
Like I like all those
There's
guys.
so much potential with Henry Cavill.
I know, and it's lost.
Yeah.
So
You
I don't
don't-
know.
Yeah.
I hope that they come to an agreement. I would like to see Ezra Miller play the Flash. I want to see Kiersey Clemens back as not Nora Allen.
Nora Jones.
Good Lord.
Nora Jones.
What is her
Nora
name?
Jones.
What is Barry Allen's girlfriend's name? Jesus. I watched
That's
this
not
show.
It's not Jesus.
It's not
Good
Jesus.
Lord. Zach, help
It's
me.
definitely not Jesus.
Oh my God, Iris West. Thank you. Thank
Okay,
you,
there you
nobody.
go. There you go.
Yeah, so I don't know. I would like to see all these people come back and play these roles, but if they can't come to a compromise, then I get it. You got to part ways.
Maybe
You got
it's
to move
time
on.
to cut ties.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree. Like Ezra Miller's Flash, I liked it. All the little things that he did was great. Like
Yeah.
I don't think Ezra Miller was the issue with
There
Flash.
are pockets of greatness in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like I don't think Ben Affleck was the problem with Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Henry Cavill is definitely not the problem with Superman. So it's just it's in a weird place.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be interested to see what I wish I could be in that room when he turns in that script.
Yeah.
You know, like I want to be there and watch him just like pitch this
Yeah.
to the fullest extent that he can. And who knows? Maybe he'll
Yeah.
convince people.
As long as they keep Jason Momoa, so when we go watch Lego Movie, we can get a my man every
That
time.
was the most surprising thing in the Lego Movie sequel, Lego Movie 2, is all of a sudden you see the Jason Momoa Lego get on the Justice League plane and he goes, my man, and literally we lost our minds. Also, that
And
film
that's all
has
he
a
says?
lot of Bruce Willis.
Does
It
it
does.
really? Oh,
It
that's
has a
right. I
lot
saw.
of Bruce
I only
Willis.
saw the one where he's in the ducks.
Yeah,
He's like,
yeah.
I don't live here.
Yeah. it's
There's
it's not as good as the first, but it's
but there's a
fun.
lot of Jason Momoa in
There
there.
is, yeah.
Okay, so was the little star that got caught in the doorway? He's all, it's so cold. Was that as funny as it played in the trailers?
Oh, it was. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, okay,
no,
good.
It has its moments.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a little underwhelming, and it's we talked about it. It's like, the Lego Movie had something special that all of a sudden you realize that like, oh, this is a Lego set.
Yeah.
And now we're going to the real world
Yeah.
to see their perspective on this whole thing. This, you already know that that's kind of the case, so
Right,
it kind of
right, right.
loses that magic.
Oh, okay,
And it
I
kind of
get
plays
it.
more like a kids movie.
It plays a
than
lot more
does
like a kids
for
movie.
everybody.
There's
Yeah.
it has a lot more musical numbers,
Uh-huh.
and it
yeah.
and it's always sequels are always tricky because you already have these amazing characters in the first one,
Yeah.
and then you try to add more characters in the second,
Yeah.
so those
Yeah.
original
Yeah.
characters don't get as much screen time.
Exactly.
Okay. Right
exactly.
on. Anyways, check out their review on click here.
Yeah.
Click
Oh my
here.
gosh.
And,
Click here.
And click on her.
Son of a bitch is making me
and then
do more
click me,
videos now.
And then
More videos. They're gonna demand the Lego
That's
Team
right.
talk.
They will.
Yeah.
They've been demanding more reviews anyway.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the director that Marvel got for the Shang-Chi solo movie. Destin Daniel Cretton will be directing the Shang-Chi movie. I am not very familiar with the character of Shang-Chi.
Zach, do you know Shang-Chi? Do you want to come speak about Shang-Chi for a second?
If I did and I didn't ask my wife to do it, I'll get yelled at later.
Can you just drop some facts? Can you just drop some facts?
It's pretty dope. I mean,
Yeah.
Based on
martial artist in the
Bruce
world.
Lee.
Trained Peter Parker.
Okay.
Yeah.
In a fight.
Yep.
Pretty great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got
Okay.
some radioactive.
At one point, he could self-replicate.
Replicating
Yeah.
stuff. all
Okay.
that good stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I remember reading about him in the Spider-Man encyclopedia that I had. I had that big
She
old
is
Spider-Man.
Hector. Holy
I know.
shit.
I love that Spider-Man encyclopedia. I read it cover to cover. So good.
All I know is that I used to collect Marvel cards, and
Yeah.
I had a Shang-Chi card, but
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about him.
Here's what's exciting to me going into Phase 4 is now, because I personally, I had a pretty decent understanding of characters like Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Hawkeye a little bit, Ant-Man a little bit, mostly Avenger characters. But now that we're getting into this territory with characters like Captain Marvel, the Eternals, Shang-Chi, whatever else is going to come, it's now exploring Marvel territory that I am very unfamiliar with.
We're going into the deep
and
cuts,
I
dude.
like that. I like that we're
going on
going
the
to the
B-side.
deep cuts.
Huh?
It's
awesome.
It's
yeah, it's
awesome,
exciting.
yes.
It's exciting. We're giving opportunities to characters that like 10, even 5 years ago, people would have been like, nobody's gonna watch this. And now people are like, yo, you see that Black Panther movie last year? You see how dope that was? More.
Here's
please.
Shang-Chi, homie.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so.
Agents brought us Shang-Chi.
Yep.
I know.
Yep.
Yeah, the very successful movie. I
Yep.
mean, they're making a whole trilogy out of that. But I'm very excited.
Where's my Latino superhero now?
No.
Gosh.
Who would
Come
you-
on, guys.
America.
America Chavez, yeah.
Yeah.
She is an alternate version of Captain America. I would love to see that.
Yeah, that'd
I
be
was
cool.
actually explaining her to Malika last night, and she's like, "That sounds like the dopest thing." I was just
Right?
actually kicking a star-shaped hole into reality. She's like, "Oh, you put that in your show?" I'm like, "That's actually a Marvel character."
Yeah, yeah.
I can't.
That's already copyrighted.
Copyright infringement.
I go on a 10-minute long rant.
Yeah.
America.
America Chavez. She's really dope. Yeah, she's Puerto Rican and what else?
I can't remember.
Like I think either she's full Puerto Rican or mixed. She's Latina. She lives in New York.
Yeah.
Her outfit's always dope. She's
Yeah.
always
Yeah,
wearing these
yeah.
shorts. She's got
got
this
her
dope ass
jacket.
jacket on,
Yeah.
like some chains.
Mhm.
She's got curly hair. She's
Yup,
dark skin.
yup.
Let's get that in there. Come on.
And hopefully at some point after that, we'll get Bane.
Oh yeah, Bane.
That is not white.
That is not quite.
Not
Who has
quite.
his little osito?
That's right.
Who
Little
is
Osito.
who's?
Huh?
Did you see Gotham Bane?
Oh, let's not go there.
Oh God.
Let's not.
Let's not go to
Let's
the
not.
Gotham
Let's talk
Bane.
about Destin Daniel
Let's-
Cretton.
Let's go. Let's go back to
Uh,
Shang-Chi.
So I've seen Short Term 12. I really, really, really like that movie. It's not his directorial debut. He actually did a short film version of Short Term 12, and then the feature version, it has Brie Larson, Lakeith Stanfield, Rami Malek is in there. It's a really, really cool story about teachers at like a teenage, like a youth center basically, with teens who have like all sorts of issues going on in their life. She plays one of the teachers, and she's surrounded by teachers who are just
Wait,
coming in.
I think I saw that.
Did we watch it together?
I think we saw that
I think
together.
we saw it together, yeah.
It sounds very familiar.
Yeah, Rami Malek was in it. It's a really, really good movie, and he sort of based the movie on his own experiences. And the thing I love about that movie is it very much, and you know, it's a low budget indie film, and that's what they tend to be, about character, about situations. And I love that about that movie so much. Like Brie Larson gets pregnant, she then gets engaged, she then considers not getting married, considers having an abortion. It's very deep, and it's very like the character work in that movie is so incredibly
We
well
did
done.
see that. I remember seeing
Yeah,
that
so
movie.
I'm really excited to see that movie. He did make a second movie with Brie Larson called Glass House. Not as equally well reviewed. I have not seen it, so I can't really comment on it. But he is doing a movie now with Brie Larson again for the third time.
Dang.
And Michael B. Jordan.
Damn,
Ooh.
my boy.
It's a courtroom drama, so
I'm about it.
I'm
Wait.
excited.
Is Michael B. Jordan gonna take his shirt off though? Like for real in the courtroom?
Maybe.
Is he just gonna like pop?
it's based
Be
on
like,
a true
"Listen,
story. So
pap."
if that happened in real life, maybe. No, but so yeah, I mean, I think in terms of the directing, they got someone who's very capable, who's made films that are very much based around characters. I really like it, and I think that tends to be the case with a lot of these superhero movies. They pull a lot of directors, usually, not always, but usually who have done smaller scale, indie stuff, very character driven. Sometimes that pays off, sometimes it doesn't pay off. And then the writing team is David Callahan, who is a co-writer on Wonder Woman 1984. He's done The Expendables, the first Expendables.
Oh, gosh.
He's writing the Spider-Verse 2.
Uh-huh.
So he's doing a lot of
Okay.
projects. So I think the most important thing about this story is diversity, diversity, diversity.
Nobody can
Well-
tell these character stories but the people who they're based off of. Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's what I was gonna
You
say.
infuse a lot of yourself.
Let's crazy rich Asians this bitch. Let's get some more Asian people
Yeah.
behind the camera on this. Because like yes, there's a lot of talented people, but there's also lots of talented people who might be more familiar with the culture that they're trying to portray, or
Exactly.
like things that they are trying to say.
Yeah.
So like let's get some advisors in there, just like what's his name, Lalo Alcaraz, right? So Lalo Alcaraz was a huge critic of Disney. I think we talked about this
I
already.
think so.
He put out Disney at some point was trying to copyright the actual Mexican celebration of Day of the Dead.
I remember this.
Yes, this was like a while ago. So he put out this art called it Muerto Mouse, right? So it was a skeletonized Mickey Mouse like coming, and it says Muerto Mouse is coming for your cultura, right?
Yeah.
So it's coming for your culture. So what Disney did when Coco came out, they were like, hey guys, to try to make amends, let's hire Lalo, who was our biggest critic about this subject, and we will get him to help us create a better movie. They could do something like that. I mean, I'm not saying that there's that much drama behind a character like Shang-Chi,
Sure.
but let's make sure
But the
that
intent.
the intent is there. The intent to get this character right, to not be insensitive, to make sure that everything you are trying to portray is not the stereotype of what you think it should be, rather somebody who knows what it is telling you how it should be.
Yeah.
Because it's frustrating. Like I know even with just things on TV that I see that try to portray Latino culture, it's just like, yeah, I mean, I can tell that you have Latino friends probably, but I mean, like,
Tell
you
us your
probably,
thoughts on
you
Suicide
probably
Squad.
yeah, exactly. I know you probably have a Latino wife, so you can say those things, but no. So I feel like, I feel like we're in a place now where that is not uncommon. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like you have to go digging really hard or have that excuse to say that, oh, well, there's just no Asian people to hire, guys.
Hollywood doesn't have any.
Hollywood
Asian
doesn't
people.
have any. That's not an
No!
excuse anymore. And I love that that's not an excuse anymore.
Yeah.
Though. Like, there have been movies that have broken barriers and that we can say, hey, dudes, the movie's right there.
I mean,
It
look
made
at-
$1 billion.
Look at Black Panther. I mean, that
Yeah.
movie just came out. All cylinders just burst through the box office.
Balls to the wall.
Did incredibly well. Told a
Yeah.
very compelling story. And it's like, as a white man, I fell in love with those characters.
Yep.
There's no one that can tell me, like, I didn't relate to them because I'm not black. Like, what are you talking about? Those characters are
You
so damn
felt-
good.
You felt for
What are
those
you talking
characters.
about?
Yes. I completely 100% agree.
I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see Guillermo del Toro's The Book of Life?
He didn't do Book of Life. He did.
He produced it.
He produced it, yeah, but that was Jorge. God, he follows me on Twitter. I'm sorry, Jorge, if you're watching. But yes,
You're fired.
I know I'm fired. No, I have not seen it yet. I know. I have not seen it
We
yet.
need to do a watch
I have
along.
the Blu-ray.
I need to borrow
yes.
it from. Well, I'm just gonna buy it actually
It's
because
so
I love
good.
Jorge Jimenez. Is it Jimenez? I think it's. Anyway, sorry if I messed up his name.
He's about
But
to unfollow you.
I follow him. I know. I follow him. I live by his creed,
Oh,
which
really?
is the super macho. Have you heard of the story of the super macho?
No.
So Jorge, as a kid, he grew up in Tijuana, right? And so he sat down with his grandpa, who one of the characters off El Tigre was based off of. And he sat him down and he poured him a shot, right? He's 6 years old at the time. 2 shots in front of him.
I've
and
been
then and then Jorge's grandpa goes, so now I think you're old enough to learn the story of the super macho. And then Jorge's like, oh my God. He's like, I'm finally like, this is it. Like, this is when I turn into a man. And so he's like, so in Mexican culture, we have the macho and then you have the super macho. He's like, the macho is unfaithful. He cheats on his women. He is macho. He's like, the super macho always takes the high ground. He's like, is very faithful and is a friend to the end. And, like, just painting them as just like, there are two different, basically telling him there are two different roads you can take. And then so he goes, and you must always be the super macho. And then he goes, Grandpa, are you a super macho? He's like, he takes the shot and he goes, nope, I'm not a super macho.
Jorge Gutierrez.
Gutierrez, there you go. Yes, Jorge
Oh,
Gutierrez.
I
God.
have
Yeah.
the art book for that film. I
Yeah.
love his art style. He's such an amazing creator.
I'll send you. I'll I'll tweet out the link to that video where he tells. So he's giving a talk at CalArts about
cool.
his style and where he came from, and so that's what he opens with. And
Yeah.
I fell in love with him, and he's an inspiration to me, and that's why I feel so shameful that I have not seen the Book of Life yet. So I know
We'll talk
you can
afterwards.
yell at me, and I deserve it.
No, it's just a good film that did
I
not
know.
get nominated
I
that
know,
year.
I know,
Yeah.
I know.
But I think at the end of the day, I think that exactly all the things that we're talking about right now, I think that's why it's important to have movies based on characters like Shang-Chi.
Right,
Is
right.
because we are diversifying not just the type of movies that we make, but we're also informing the audiences in vast ways.
Right.
It's not just about the Supermans and the Batman and the Iron Man and the Captain Americas.
Right.
It's also like, hey, learn something about another culture that's
Exactly.
not about you.
Exactly.
Because to me, I mean, as like people who love to travel, that is the most interesting thing, is going to another place that I don't know,
Yeah.
I'm unfamiliar with. I get to learn about the food, the
Yep.
culture, the people. And if we can do that through movies
Right.
and inspire people to hopefully then want to go out there and explore the world and see what's
create
out there and
and
create,
do things,
then
yeah.
that is the power of movies. Like that's
Yeah.
the whole transformative thing about film that I love.
I really hope if we do get a Captain Marvel sequel, that we introduce Miss Marvel, and then we get Kamala Khan in there.
Okay.
Because I think we need even more. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
I think we
yeah.
get
Especially
at
in
some
this
point.
climate, we need representation even more of like
Yes.
yes,
Yeah.
get these
Yes.
amazing characters that we have
Yeah,
now out there.
and I think honestly, I feel like I feel like we're kind of derailing back to where we were, but I feel
Oops.
like it was. I feel like getting a character like that is very important, and I feel like even though it's kind of a huge jump to catch up to mostly modern comics,
Yeah.
I feel like it's a very important step that I think in the long run will pay off even more than just like maybe following storylines that are just like, well, we kind of did this, so the next natural progression is this. But there's no reason why you can't add all these characters that we love
Totally.
and that are different and that show you different things in anywhere.
Yeah. Agreed.
That's just me as a brown guy.
Let's talk about how one movie derailed another. Your favorite movie, Fantastic.
Fan Force
Josh Trank is now at the point where somebody tweeted like, "Has a superhero movie ever not made back its budget?" And he tweets out, "Hold my beer."
Hold my
So
beer.
he
Oh
has very
my
much accepted the
gosh.
fact that movie was
Fantastic.
a real shithole.
Good.
So there was an interview with Rupert Wyatt, who was one of the directors of Gambit, who has now passed on. After him came Doug Liman. After him came another director. But he was interviewed at South by Southwest, and he was basically asked, what was the Gambit movie that you were going to make, and why did it never come to fruition? And he basically explains that because when Fantastic Four came out and did so abysmally bad at the box office, Fox came in and said, "We're cutting your budget," and I think it was like 12 weeks before they're going to start shooting. So not only did their budget get slashed, and it wasn't at 150 million like people and a lot of news sites were reporting, it was lower than that. So imagine if they had like a $90 million budget and that gets slashed to, under $50 million. Deadpool had not been made yet at that point, so it's like, okay, cool.
Everybody was like, well, we have no money.
Yeah.
I can't even pay for food with this.
And they had to go back and they had to figure out, okay, cool, we need to revise the script. We need to sort of figure out how we can make the script work within a smaller budget that's, however millions of dollars it was.
Yeah.
And this movie is also supposed to be a 70s period piece. Well, start in the 70s and go all the way to modern day. So imagine trying to
That's a big budget.
Trying to make a period piece
Yeah.
that is not just in one time period, but potentially crosses multiple. That adds to the budget
That's
as
a
well.
lot of costumes.
It is.
And cars.
And cars. Think about that. Well, now you can CG cars.
You can.
But still, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, so he
A
says
lot of
Fantastic Four
dinero.
came out, which did not do very well for Fox. They decided to lower a budget. We were 12 weeks out. We couldn't recover. The script needed a huge amount of rewriting in order to fit that budget, and ultimately the powers that be chose not to go down that road, so the film didn't happen. And then, of course, whatever happened after me with other directors, I have no idea. What I do know is that Channing Tatum and his producing partner, Reed Carolyn, had an amazing idea of what the movie was going to be, and Josh Zudermer, the writer, as well. It was terrific. It was a really exciting sort of Godfather with mutants set in the world of New Orleans with different gangs. So he talks about that. He talks about how the movie was dealing with mutant games, what it means to belong, tribalism in this bayou-like environment, all sorts of stuff. I still stand on the side of I don't need this movie. Doesn't mean it couldn't be great. It could come out and it could have been amazing. Channing Tatum kind of is a Ezra Miller in the sense. He's very passionate about the character. He's very involved with the producing and helping to write it. So Now
And-
with the acquisition of 20th Century Fox going over to Disney,
Yes.
Rupert Wyatt said, "I have no clue what's going to happen with this movie."
Good. What were you gonna say, Emily? I feel like you're bursting at the seams here.
If y'all don't know, I'm gonna get real southern real fast.
Oh, boy. There we go.
Uh-oh.
Take a seat.
I'm from Houston. Houston is a port city. Houston has its own Mardi Gras. Houston has a lot of cultural connection.
Houston has a Mardi Gras?
Because we're only 3 hours away from
Yeah, it's
New
really
Orleans. We
close,
have a
yeah.
really close New Orleans. After Katrina, Houston was one of the
interesting.
biggest places that a lot of displaced
people
people
went
came to.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and plus, yeah, we're a port, so we have a lot of seafood as well. So,
Gotcha.
my grandmother's from Louisiana. We have a whole family in Louisiana. Apparently, our family inspired steel magnolias. That's another story. But
That's another episode.
my big question is this: 4 words. Channing Tatum Cajun accent. I don't know. It scares me. I'm gonna have
I
nightmares
was about to
this.
try one, but I was like, no, that's stupid.
I think
can't.
I've heard.
I can't even
I've
try.
heard rumors of Hector's.
Hector's is
Gambit.
good. Hector's is really good
Oh
because
my
Hector
God.
can just do accents. No matter what he does, it's good. But like, I
It's
I
such
think
a
you're right.
specific accent.
And for people who know it,
yeah.
it's like, oh, that he's not doing
Like
well.
there's a bunch of Southern accents depending on where you are, and there's a
Yes.
bunch of like Louisiana dialects. There's
Yeah.
all these different places have different dialects depending on if you're from Shreveport and whatnot. Like
Was that a Shreveport?
Shreveport. No, I'm not even gonna do it because it's like I'm not from there, and so.
Wait, did you have a draw before you moved over?
I
here?
was trained out of my Southern accent in college
Wow.
because I said in Shakespeare I said to be or not to be, and
to
to
be?
be I said
To
to
be,
be, and
to
my Professor Braddock he was like, Emily, you have to say the word to. So
not to.
to. So but
To be.
if I get mad though, my Southern accent does come out.
It does.
Interesting. Interesting.
More about Channing Tatum.
Interesting. Yeah. I agree with you, Adam. I don't feel like I ever needed to see this movie whatsoever. I mean, from the get-go, we were just like, "What is this coming out of left field?"
Yeah.
Like we
Just
have
hit
some.
this is the character.
Yeah,
We're gonna
it's
give a
just like,
movie too.
here, guys. I mean, it was also a different time too.
It
I
was.
think you can go back to that movie and say, hey, like, yeah, superhero movies had been successful, and what else had come out at that time? Was that around like Winter Soldier
2009?
time?
Are you talking about X-Men Origins Wolverine?
No. What I'm talking about, Fan Four Stick.
Oh, that was
Fantastic.
2015.
Okay.
That was
That was Avengers Age of Ultron.
Yeah, it was Age
So
of
okay, so
Ultron.
Age of Ultron had come out. So those movies were making money, but there was I still think there was an error about an error about a studio like Fox saying, "Hey guys, we have these X-Men. We can't fail. Like no matter
Yeah.
what we put out,
We make a bad
it's-
one, make a good one.
Yeah,
Make a good one,
exactly.
make another good one.
So
Make a good
that's
one, make a
why,
bad one.
yeah, they're like, we have Fantastic Four. Like we're gonna make it, and people are gonna love it no matter what. This time we're gonna do it right. And I feel like they were braver back then. Like they were more willing to do it. And I feel like 2015, whatever year this came out in, was the nail in the coffin for maybe.
It's a miracle we got Deadpool.
It's a miracle. It's absolutely a miracle. I mean, with the slashed budget,
Without
they
that-
did exactly what they did to.
Without
to
that, we would
Gambit.
have never gotten Logan.
Exactly. Like without like all those movies chained to each other. So if you think about what Fantastic Fan Four Stick did, I'm not even going to give it a proper name. 'cause fuck that
Fantastic.
movie. Fan Four Stick. So if you think about what that movie did to the franchise, it was super detrimental. And I don't blame them for completely scrapping
Yeah.
this 100%, which I think it just works out for the best. Maybe we could see Channing Tatum do something more awesome in another movie and not be Gambit.
Here's a question. Do you think this movie potentially has a life post-acquisition at Disney
No.
and him coming in as Gambit into an X-Men movie?
No, because
Only
you
if,
have Feige controlling this shit.
I would even say too, like you, especially with the X-Men coming into
The MCU.
Disney, you gotta lay. Oh man, Gambit's like, here's our nice couch. You gotta lay your groundwork
a Gambit?
first. We gotta lay your groundwork with the
We
X-Men.
got a Jubilee.
You gotta be like, this is the groundwork, and then we can start putting furniture in the
Exactly,
house. You can't just be like, I'm gonna stick a sofa on this dirt and be
Yeah,
like, it's
yeah.
pretty good.
It's alright. It's alright.
It's gotta
I
be
mean,
cozy.
It gets
It's
a little
gotta
dirty,
match.
but it's it's cool. No, I agree with you 100%. Like Gambit, he has his own comics, yes, and he has a following
Of
behind
course he
him.
does.
But I feel like we need to lay the groundwork for. I think the original X-Men, not even Wolverine. Let's get Beast. Let's get Cyclops. Let's get Angel. Let's get Jean. And let's get, who am I missing, Zach? Iceman. Iceman?
Archangel?
Iceman. No, Angel. He was Angel first. And then he became Archangel. So I said Cyclops, Beast, Jean,
Professor X.
Professor X, and Iceman, right? I think that's it. Yeah. So let's get that. Let's make them the X-Men, like the original X-Men. Let's go from there.
But do you think at the MCU they're going to reboot it? I mean, we just had not just First Class came out in 2011, so it's been 8 years almost.
I don't think we're going to see the X-Men anytime soon.
But yeah, like,
But what I'm
do
saying-
you go back again and retell the origin of those characters again?
Don't.
Well, so the origin of the original X-Men
Or do you
is
just make them like
diff-
they've been hidden in the MCU the whole time? We just didn't know.
I don't know. I think they're still trying to figure out. I think they have a contingency plan
Yeah.
of what they would have done with the X-Men had they existed in
the
this
MCU,
MCU, right?
They were the
So-
quantum realm the whole
Yeah,
time.
they were in the quantum-
They
they were
were in a
just hiding, guys.
bus.
Can you imagine what this movie?
They
could
had
do?
zero confidence and they were still training, so they
Yeah.
didn't do anything.
Guys, they were just real nervous.
Right. No, I mean, there's a lot of different directions they could take it, but like I'm saying, I don't think we're going to see the X-Men anytime soon.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying, in order to work up to Gambit, you have to have the grounds of the X-Men
Foundation.
first.
You
have to have your
ground it.
house.
You have to have your foundation because you have to have the mutants. You have to. That's such a big part of that series
Of
and
that,
that
yeah,
franchise is
yeah.
all about this. It's because it's a parable for so many other. The whole mutants and non-mutants is a storytelling device that talks about so many like serious issues.
Political
Yes.
issues.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
you can't just be like X-Men. Like you can't with
Here's the nice version of X-Men without all the crazy, like
'cause that's what makes it so good.
yeah, exactly. Because there's a lot of weight that the characters that have been ostracized by the public have behind them, which mirrors, the civil rights movement and all that
Yeah.
stuff. And so you can't just present the cleaned up version of the X-Men. They're like, here guys, here's a guy with claws, go have fun. Like that's not what
Yeah.
I want to see, at least. And I feel like it would be a good direction for the MCU. But I don't want to see that anytime soon either. Like I feel
We can
that
take
are-
a little break from it.
Yeah, we can take a little break from it. We don't have to touch it. I mean, if anything, I would maybe like to see a Fantastic Four movie first. I feel like enough time has passed, and I
Yeah.
hate Fant Four Stick so much that I'm ready for something new to come out. That's okay. It's all good. I can work with that, Zach. I can work with that. It's okay. Look, it's still working.
Still got
fine.
that soul glow going.
The
So
soul
yeah,
glow.
eventually.
Yeah, eventually, yeah.
Kind
yeah.
of keeping on the topic of Fantastic Four, not Fan Four Stick, good lord. Noah Hawley, who is the showrunner on FX's Fargo, in 2017 at Comic-Con, it was announced that he was going to be developing, or that he was developing, a Doom movie. A movie that didn't really deal with the doom of the Fantastic Four, the Fan Four Stick movie. It was going to be a bit more independent of that, and nothing has really been said about it since. He wrote a script, he presented it to Fox, and now he doesn't really know what's going to happen with that movie because, as far as we know, potentially on Monday,
We are writing
the
the Doom
acquisition
musical.
will be yes,
Yes.
confirmed.
Confirmed.
It's
Disney
in-
has hired
It's
us.
in
Right.
Augie's
Yeah,
contract.
That's right.
Exactly. It's in my contract
That's
that
right.
I have to write
That's
the Doom
right.
musical.
That's right.
No, so
The
Monday.
Doomsicle.
Yeah, but Monday
is
potentially we could
said-
find out that Disney officially owns the assets of Fox.
That's the rumor.
So that's
Yeah.
the rumor. So we don't know. There has not been a green light yet on the project, obviously, because nobody knows what's going to happen with these characters.
Yeah.
Kevin Feige and Noah Hawley did have a conversation about it, though, which must have been very informal because they technically, while this whole deal is going on, they're not allowed to really have those sort of discussions.
Absolutely not,
officially.
because nothing's legal.
Exactly.
You can't have those conversations.
So if they did it in passing somewhere in an event, then I think it's a whole other harmless story.
I just picture them across from like a really busy party.
Hey,
Hey!
You're like, hey,
Hey,
Doom,
hey,
Doom,
That's
Doom,
not for-
Doom,
Doom,
yeah,
you
Doom,
do it,
yeah.
you do it,
You like
you
Doom?
win,
You like Doom?
you
You in? You out? No?
you
You
out?
like
No?
it?
Maybe?
The cape? You like the cape?
Just DM
The blaster?
me.
Just DM
Yeah.
me.
The mask?
You like the mask?
Mask, big mask, small mask.
You
What
want
do
the
want?
leather armor or you want the iron? I don't know which one. What do you want?
Fantastic
I don't-
Four
How does it
And then that
connect?
was it. That was the conversation.
I'm a little surprised that we actually did get a little bit of a description of what the movie is going to be. It says that he envisions Doctor Doom as a geopolitical thriller more than a standard superhero movie. It begins with Doom putting on a dome over Latveria, those son of a bitches, the fictional European country he rules. He later invites a female journalist to be his voice to the world, meaning its protagonist will be someone without superpowers.
Interesting.
Uh,
Geopolitical. I mean, it could be okay because if Dr. Doom wants to rule the world.
Yeah.
We all know this. He wants to become master of the universe eventually, and he starts with Latveria. And so those goddamn Latverians trying to
Son
ruin
of a
everything.
bees.
And so it makes sense. It makes sense that it would be a geopolitical thriller. You cannot ignore the fact that he's so extra because he's very he likes his chandeliers and he likes his big throne and he likes his castle, so he's very theatrical. So I'm hoping that they add that fantastical sense to him.
Is he gonna be like this kind of modern, like lavish, like
Right.
look at
Yeah.
this? This
Like
is great.
he considers himself as a king. Like he's the ruler of Latveria. He has a long green cape, and in some capes he has like that frilly kingly
Yeah.
like border on the outside. And so I feel like you need to like if Doom's gonna address somebody, it can't be somebody. It's got to be a Doom bot. Like it's because Doom. That's how he
Know
presents
your
himself.
place.
You don't know if it's Doom
Yeah.
or if it's a Doom bot. So I don't know. Like I don't know what this movie was going to say beyond this. But I want to see. That's why we.
But you
that's
want
why
it, right?
I do want a Doom movie.
Doom.
I do want a Doom movie.
Yeah.
But I want that bombastic theatrical. Like he needs to have like a big voice, and he needs to, but like a big cybernetic voice where he's like imposing, and he comes on screen and you're like, fuck, Doom's about to wreck shit.
Yeah.
Because that's what he does. So yeah, that's what I want to see instead of maybe like a geopolitical thriller. Or maybe it could be a geopolitical thriller, but with drama.
The undertones of that mixed with a character who is dramatic but also very
A
theatrical.
geopolitical thriller and Phantom of the Opera.
I'm down.
That's what I wanna
That sounds
see.
good. Who would be your dream casting? I know it's
You know
on
what?
the top of the moment.
I've been thinking about that, and I need somebody with a big voice
Mm-hmm.
who's kind of imposing. I'm thinking John Hamm would be pretty good as Doom, because he's got the broad shoulders. Doom's got to have big, broad shoulders. He's got the voice.
Mm-hmm.
You can't hide that ham face, though. That ham face is too beautiful to be hidden. So I don't know. There's a lot of people who
A
could
face
play
made
him.
of ham.
Yeah, that
His-
ham face.
John Hamm's John Hamm.
John's ham. John's
John
ham.
Ham's ham.
John Ham's ham. But like I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about it. Bryan Cranston. Okay. I
Yeah.
like it. He's imposing. Maybe just put some shoulder pads on him. He'll be all right.
1980s
I just
geopolitical
look,
thriller.
dude. When the look of Doom, when we finally get him on screen, I am going to criticize it so hard, which sucks because I want it so bad. But at the same time, I hope they do a really good job of it.
But I mean, if anybody's going to do it successfully, even if this movie doesn't get made at Fox and eventually gets made and mixed into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I feel like Kevin Feige knows great. The
Yeah,
fans have been
yeah.
burned by the Fantastic Four.
Absolutely.
Look, I know a lot of people don't like those early 2000s Fantastic Four movies.
Yeah.
I think they're fun. They're kind of ridiculous. I don't think they're not, they're not in line with the
They're a movie of their time.
Yeah, like they're not in
Yes.
line with the current Marvel
Agreed.
Cinematic Universe. Like they're
Agreed.
movies of their time.
Yes.
They're fun, they're entertaining. Of course I want Doctor Doom, the current or whatever the current version ends up being in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, to be something that's more aligned with characters like Thanos.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Very well done.
I mean, there's a point where Zach would attest to this. There's just a run that happened a couple years ago where Doom turned into God Doom. Like he could kick Thanos, he could kick anybody's ass. He basically took over the entire universe.
Kick his own ass.
He could kick his own ass if he wanted to.
Twice.
So Doom has that potential to do those kind of things. Doom's background is like he trained with the Ancient One. Like he found the Ancient One before. Is it before or after Doctor Strange found the Ancient One? Like back in the day.
Are you talking about the Hickman run?
No, not the Hickman run. It's like the 60s one. Anyway, but he trained with the Ancient One. Like when he's got his face burned, he went to the mountains, found the Ancient One, trained in magic, didn't like what the Ancient One was saying, so blasted the Ancient One, right? And so those stories can be intertwined. Like I'm
Yeah.
imagining sort of like a Doctor Strange style power set, but more with like with Iron Man mixed in there.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like he's magically powering an Iron Man suit rather than like the arc reactor in his
Right.
chest. So this is what I have. Maybe I'm a bad person to talk to about this because I have so
You have
much
a very specific
writing
vision.
behind this. Yeah, and so I'm so invested in the character, and it's very like I know what Doom is and I know what he needs to be. So if I don't know, maybe if it falters, I might be the bad person to talk to because I'm gonna be angry no matter what. But I don't know. I'm hoping that they do him justice, and I think if he's in the hands of Marvel and whatever they're doing next, I think it'll be okay. So I don't know. Or it'll be terrible and I'll be angry all the time.
I just really feel like the Fantastic Four deserve a redemption.
They absolutely
good.
do.
Especially since we Stan Lee's unfortunate passing, I feel like we owe it to him.
We owe it to him because that was a very important creation. I mean, it's super important in his career, but it also adds a nice element to the MCU. Like it kind of grounds the superheroes because they're very public. They have merchandise, like they sell their own toys. They start a science foundation for gifted kids. Like if they see a gifted kid, they'll bring him and they'll say, hey, you can study here for free. Like the whole Baxter building is just made for the betterment of humanity. Whereas the Avengers Tower is just kind of like their hideaway.
Yeah.
And it's a place for Tony Stark to hide his toys.
Right.
Right. And so, I feel like they add a really cool dynamic that deserves to be told. I feel like now is the time to think about it, not necessarily implement it, and then tell us some really cool stories with maybe whatever you have coming up next.
Yeah.
And then throw in the Fantastic Four.
Yeah. It has a dynamic family element that right now currently is mostly presently seen in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. But also like a direct family.
Exactly.
Like we don't have the only direct family we have is Hawkeye's family.
Yeah, and we had Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver did.
Poor guy.
Poor guy.
Oh,
He had to
wasn't
go
faster
be
than
in
that
Fox. We couldn't have both.
bullet.
We couldn't have the best of
They
both
flipped a
worlds.
coin.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, we
And he
get
lost
Scarlet.
it.
You
Yeah.
get
Sorry.
Yeah.
the divorce.
Oh my God. But we'll see. It's gonna be interesting. We'll find out. Maybe we'll find out on Monday what's gonna happen with this merger. We discussed potentially talking about it, but we've talked about it so much. I kind of just want to wait for the official
We need
announcement.
facts. We need
We need
facts. at this
facts.
point.
We need
Yeah.
facts.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a while before we even hear Kevin Feige talk about it publicly.
Yeah.
I think Comic-Con potentially could be the first place where they address it.
Well,
I think they're officially going to announce things like Guardians 3, Shang-Chi, The Eternals.
agreed.
You know, what they're doing on Disney Plus. I don't know if we're really going to get too much about the Fox stuff.
I don't think so. But I mean, there's also a bigger I don't even know what I'm trying to say. A bigger thing that's happening with this merger is thousands of people are going to lose their jobs. You know,
What's
like
going to happen to
that's
all that?
a bigger topic of conversation that
Yeah.
we should be talking about as well, because there's going to be people who get laid off because of this happening. There's going to be less competition in the market. There's going to be things that aren't necessarily good for the industry. In general, we get superheroes, right? Right? Right.
It's a double-edged sword.
It is a double-edged sword, and I don't want to end the episode on a negative note. Like
Yeah.
I do want to focus on the fact that yes, we are getting a really, really cool stuff in the future, and we might be getting things that we might never have gotten to see otherwise.
Yep.
You know, because they weren't really playing fair, or
Yep.
not even fair, but just like
They weren't in the same sandbox.
they weren't concerned with talking to each other about making things work. They didn't do a Sony deal, so otherwise we probably wouldn't have gotten stuff like this that,
Yep.
you know, makes my little heart happy sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes.
Guys, that's going to wrap it up for us on this episode of Hyper Heroes. Let us know in the comments what you thought about everything that we talked about, all the topics, all the spoilers. Talk about it all. I'm interested to get your guys' opinions on a lot of the stuff. Emily, thank you so much for joining
Oh,
us.
it's always a pleasure to come talk movies.
Let the internet know where they
Movies.
can find you on social media.
You can find me on Twitter at frankly_Emily, on Instagram, frankly_Emily with an extra little underscore. And you can actually find me regularly here on Hyper RPG on the Twitch channel, IGM. I'm your GMily for the Rat Queens RPG, Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific time live. So I would love to have you come and join us.
Yeah, you should jump over to the Twitch channel. We're doing programming every single day. There's so many great shows.
Homies, the
Yeah.
Twitch channel is killing it.
They're
you got
crushing it. So
you
much
got
good
to
stuff.
give props to Zach and Malika. They're doing a really good job.
That's right. You should.
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's wrap this mother up.
What were you about to say?
Mother up.
Okay, great. Guys, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll catch you next episode. See you next time.